Hello students. Today we are going to learn the fifth chapter, Footprints Without Feet, from our CBSE text, Footprints Without Feet, of class 10th, by Herbert George Wells. In this video you will learn the detailed summary of the chapter. Footprints Without Feet. Griffin was a brilliant scientist. He conducted many experiments. One day he discovered a wonderful drug. It could make him invisible. He took that drug and became invisible. He could see everybody, but nobody could see him. Griffin's landlord did not like him. He tried to get his house vacated. Griffin became angry. He set the house on fire. Then he took the drug. He took off his clothes. He became invisible and went out. You can see in the image here the Griffin, who was a great scientist. He carried out many experiments to prove that the human body could become invisible. In the end, he swallowed some rare drug and his body became invisible. He was a lawless person and the landlord disliked him and tried to eject him. So, in revenge, Griffin set his house on fire. It was winter. It was not easy to walk without clothes. Griffin had no money. So he went into a big London store. He stole clothes from there. When he walked with those clothes, it seemed as if a headless man was walking. He took meat, coffee, sweets, and wine from the kitchen of the store. Then he slept on piles of quilt there. Children, from this image you can see that the air is what is bitterly cold and Griffin was naked. So instead of walking about the streets, he entered the London store for warmth. He enjoyed the pleasure of clothes and food freely. He fitted himself out with the warm clothes there. He became fully dressed up with shoes and an overcoat and hat. After putting on clothes, he became invisible. He had cold meat and coffee, sweets and wine from the grocery stores. And the next morning, he did not wake up in time. The shop assistants arrived and saw him. Griffin ran out of fear. The assistants ran after him. Griffin took off his clothes one by one. He became invisible again, but now he was shivering with cold. He entered the shop of a theatrical company. He wore bandages around his forehead. He also wore dark glasses, a false nose, and whiskers. Griffin robbed some money of the shopkeeper. Then he took a train and reached Epping village. Now, in this video, the image you just see the image, you will be understanding here that the Griffin is removing his clothes one after the other, and the shopkeeper and his persons are running to catch him. Then he is taking off the bandages and he entered the shop of a theatrical company. He wore the bandages around his forehead. Then he also wore dark glasses, a false nose and whisker. Griffin robbed some money of the shopkeeper. Then he took a train and reached the Epping village. At Epping village, booked 2 rooms at an inn. He paid the rent in advance. The name of the landlady was Mrs. Hall. She tolerated the strange behavior of Griffin. Soon Griffin spent the stolen money. He told the landlady that he had no cash. He said that he was expecting a check. The next day, he stole money from the house of clergyman. The clergyman and his wife were surprised. They had not seen anybody coming. The room was empty. Even then, money was stolen. So, you see the image here. In this image, you can understand that Griffin had spent the stolen money, and he told that the landlady that he had no cash and he is expecting a check. So next day what he has done, he had stolen money from the house of the clergyman. The clergyman and his wife were surprised as they had not seen anybody coming. The room was empty. Even then the money was stolen. So after some times, the landlord and his wife found that the Griffin's room was open. They entered the room, but there was nobody. Griffin's clothes and bandages were lying on the floor. Suddenly, the hat jumped and struck Mrs. Hall's face. Then the chair jumped and charged at her. The couple was afraid. They thought that there were ghosts in the room. They cried and ran downstairs. So you can see the images here. The door is wide open and they entered the rooms, but there were nobody there, and Griffin's clothes and bandages were lying on the floor. Suddenly a hat jumped and struck Mrs. Hall's face, as well as then the chair jumped and charged at her. The couple were afraid. They thought that there were ghosts in the room. They cried and ran downstairs. The neighbors gathered there. They thought that Griffin was responsible for all that. The police was called. Before that, Griffin and Mrs. Hall had a quarrel. Griffin became angry. He threw off his bandages, spectacles, and false nose. Now he was wearing clothes, but his body was not visible above the neck. The people were horrified when they saw a headless man. So in this, the images regarding this explanation, here you see that the people are after the Griffin and a police was being called. Griffin became angry and he threw off his bandages, spectacles, and false nose. Now the people were horrified when they saw a headless man. Just then police came. He was also surprised when he saw a headless man. He tried to catch Griffin, but Griffin started taking off his clothes. He became invisible. Those who tried to catch him got blows out of air. Soon Griffin became free. Nobody knew where to lay a hand on him. Griffin came off the inn and started walking on the road. Now he was again free man. Children, I think you would have understood the chapter Footprints Without Feet, an invisible man. A man who has discovered a drug and consumed the drug to become invisible. So, thank you for watching the video. Stay home, be safe.